What we're going to talk about now is the rears, and this is where it gets a little bit interesting, and where we are going to bust out the OBD11. Okay, anytime I use the OBD11, I use a battery tender. This is the one I'm using. Nothing fancy or special or anything. It's just cheap insurance. You just don't want the battery to die while you're using it. So go ahead and open that up. Place the red one. Place the black one. And it's doing its thing. Blinking away, that will eventually turn to green. Okay, so this is what comes with the OBD11. Pretty simple. You come on your driver's side here. Right there, that purple thing is your OBD port. Plug this in and you will see it glow red. And then the next part I will have to record from my phone, hopefully. Okay guys, so you are going to open your OBD11 app, click connect. Hopefully everything will connect. You can see it's charging, detecting the vehicle. Probably fast forward through some of this because sometimes it could take a minute for it to detect, but you'll see all the important stuff. Click on your car. It's reading everything. Okay, once we get to this screen, we do not want to click tap to scan. We're going to save that for a different video. But down at the very bottom where it says home, to the right of it, it says apps. You're going to click on apps. At the very top, it says adjustments, retrofits, and workshop in white. You're going to click on workshop. You're going to scroll all the way down. You'll see brake pad replacement. And you need to follow these steps. So we're going to turn the ignition on, but we're going to keep the engine off. And to do that, we just push the start button, but without putting our foot on the brake. Okay. Now what we're going to do is put our parking brake on. So we lift up on the parking brake and you can hear them engage. Okay. And now we need to turn the parking brake off. So we have to put our foot down on the brake and then push down on the parking brake. You can hear it disconnect. And then I'm going to go down here at the bottom, change value, select open, and then activate, and hopefully you can hear this. Okay, hopefully you guys were able to hear that, but that was your electronic parking brake disengaging. Okay guys, rear pads. Now the rear pads are a little bit different because only one of them has the notch for the sensor. And so it's the same thing. Try to show you a little bit better. So the thin part goes here and the thicker part of the sensor goes here, just like in the fronts. There's no difference. This was a little clip that I told you that came off of here, but it just slides right on there. I'll show you close up in a minute, but super easy. Why this clip came off, I'm not sure. But essentially, it kind of clips in just like that, is what it's doing. So it'll work, no problem. The backs can be a little tricky, mainly because all of that electronic parking brake system there does not want to really move. And I'm sure you could go through the hassle of removing all of these different clips or making disconnections, but I was trying to keep it as simple as possible and not remove everything from here. So I'm just gonna show you what I did. But by all means, you can go through that process of removing and disconnecting stuff if it makes it easier on you. It's just not worth it for me. But I will prove to you that it is doable. This is a 13 millimeter. These are tight, but they're not like ridiculously tight. I'm not having to like get on the ground or anything. Okay, I'm gonna do my best to show this to you, but there's one last tool I forgot, and that's just a pair of adjustable pliers here. So you have this nut. Let me see if I can show it to you. And what it wants to do is turn. You see it right here? It's turning. And so because of that, it'll never loosen or up on you. And so what you have to do is take a pair of pliers and you just hold it in place. It doesn't require too much force. So I already broke this top one loose. And so now I'm just trying to remove the screw. And so I'm just holding it in place and then removing the screw. You don't have to hold this in to break it loose, but you'll see we'll also have to do the same thing to install it. I don't know why the design is like it is, but it's super annoying. But once you get it loose, you can just hold the, actually you don't even have to hold it once it gets to a certain point. All right, so I wanted to give a close-up of that nut that I was talking about that you have to use a clamp on. None of my wrenches were thin enough to just hold that. So if you have a thin wrench, you could just use a wrench, but because I didn't have a wrench, it also comes with like this like jagged washer of some sort. But it's just enough that I can hold this. Once again, this is not requiring a lot of force. I've already broken the bolt loose. Same with tightening. Once it gets to like tight, this locks up and then I can really crank down on it without this moving anymore. So this does not require a lot of force, and that's why these small pliers work. That's it. I'm not sure you're gonna be able to see the bottom very well, but sorry, this back is just, you guys know how it is with some of these car videos. Some things just do not allow you to get in there. But down at the bottom, oh, well, I'm an idiot. Got ahead of myself. Definitely leave that screw in there. Learn from my mistakes there. So I'm just gonna hand tighten that. What you wanna do is break them both loose first. There you go. Before you remove any screws. Okay, so now that I broke it loose, this bottom flange, bottom screw is starting to turn. So I'm holding it with the clamp. You can kind of see it in the video at the bottom there, and just loosening it up. You should get to a point where you can do it by hand. And now we can actually remove the screws. Not sure why that design is the way it is. Okay, so this part kicked my butt last time. Usually for these single pistons in the rears, you can use something cheap like this. You can even use these for single or dual piston calipers in the rear. But it all relies on this plate not being here. And usually what you have is you have two prongs or something that stick out, and this middle part is open, and that allows for these tools to go into and apply pressure on the piston. But as beautiful as this looks, it's a pain in the butt. It blocks everything. But I finally figured out how to do it. So in the back here, this whole electronic parking brake is attached to the caliper. You can kind of see it back there where my hand is. So what I simply do is just hold this. It's light. There's no control arm or anywhere to hang one of those yellow caliper hooks. So I just hold it. It's simple. These used to be orange too. Now they're not. So I remove these. Now, one caveat with this is for my particular Carbotex, they come with the spring on them, both the top and the bottom where those tabs are. So because of that, hold on, let me get this. Grab a screwdriver. I'm not trying to touch the pad or the rotor, just trying to get that clip out the back. There it goes. Okay. And just put that screwdriver in that clip and pulled it out. So because these have the clips, remember I'm going from race to OEM. You would be doing this OEM to race if you're gonna race it like I do. If not, if you're just doing OEM to OEM, then you don't really have to worry about this step. But you have to remove these clips in order to put those racing pads on. And so they're super easy, and then they just clip right back on. They only go one way. This giant flat piece goes right here on the giant flat piece, the opening. So pretty self-explanatory, and they will just self-hold in this little notch here where your brake pads will go, is where they will go into. So try to do this with one hand. And that's it. It just sits right in there. Nothing crazy. Bottom one drops right into. To get them out, you just lift up on them. Sometimes what I had to do is use a screwdriver and wiggle both sides out, and they will pop out. So now you've seen how to put them, take them out and put them in, and everything in between. So just make sure they're seated all the way down in there, top and bottom. Now, as I stated for the rears, this notch only goes in the back. There's no arrow or anything, but these can only go one way. So likewise with the fronts, I like to put the bottom in first, and then put the top in, and then I have my fronts. They can only go one way. Bottom first, and then there you go. Now, we still have to compress this piston back there. Told you I'd show you a trick. So what I found after many trial and errors is, I don't know if you can see those two prongs right there. So usually that whole space is open. And if you've done any other brake job, you'll know that. But we can't remove this RS thing. So what I did is I took my dual piston calipers compressor and with it closed all the way, I used one of these. I used the bottom prong, and I placed the black part against it. Sorry, my wife's yelling at our dog. And then I
bad girl. Oh my gosh.
Spread.
Come here. Come here. Come here.
So I put it up against that bottom prong. There's just no way to show this to you guys. So this black piece is against the bottom prong, and then I squeeze the caliper. And this does not take a lot of force, and it's pushing the piston in. And then I can release it. Try to show this one more time. I was trying to do a close up, but I think maybe farther away is better. So black part goes where that prong is. I use that black thing up against the prong, and then I compress. There we go. Squeeze this handle. I'm not getting a lot of purchase, but it's enough that it compresses the caliper, and then I can slide this back on. Okay, now we could put our bolts back in. We'll do the top one first. These are a lot faster and the caliper is light, so that's why I just hold it by hand. Do the bottom one. I don't know why someone's shooting off fireworks, but they are. Okay. Let's talk about that sensor again. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because it's the exact same sensor as the front, which you won't really be able to see, but you're going to look for that notch in the brake pad, and then push it back into place. And to remove it, it's the same thing. You use this pick, get down as low as you can in there. Hold on. Down as low as you can and just wiggle it. This one I found you can actually wiggle off without needing the pick, but I still have the pick there in case I need it. Because of this 90-degree angle that it has, it actually gives, it's actually firm here. You're not pulling out on wires, you're pulling on the plastic itself. So it's a lot safer to pull on. And the clip came off again, so we're gonna place the clip back on.
You can't have a friend over or go to a friend's house if that's what you're about to ask me.
And push it back on.
Tuesday.
And we're good. All right, guys, like I said, the rear is a lot easier, so we're just going to buckle everything back up now. Once again, hold this. That's nice and tight. Try not to get too much in the way here. All right, so once it's tight like that, you don't need your pliers anymore. So from here, you can just crank on it. Once again, applying the same amount of force as it took to remove. This did not take a whole lot, so you can tell I'm not cranking super hard on it. I'm not getting down on the ground for better leverage. Done. Tightened, clips back on. There is one thing I forgot to mention with this clip, or I say clip, with the sensor. Just like the front, right here, sorry, these are always hard to video, where your bleeder valve is, your bleeder nipple, your cable goes inside of that, and then you'll cap it again. So that's the only thing I forgot to mention. Other than that, that's the only thing. It doesn't get routed anywhere else. This is way easier. It's kind of a better view. You can pull that off. Clip stays on. Lost the clip. There it goes. And try to show you a different angle. There it goes. Push it down as hard as you can, and you're good. That's it. Okay guys, so we are back in the app, brake pads replacement. Now I've had the battery tender on this whole time. The OBD 11 has been plugged in this entire time. So when I opened up my app, it stayed right here, which is really nice feature. I didn't have to worry about anything. So now we are coming down to step number 4. New pads are fully assembled. We're going to turn the ignition on. Just like before, the ignition will be on, but the engine will be off. So we're just pushing the button. And then we're going to go to change value, close, and then activate. And then we should hopefully hear. Hopefully you can hear all of that. That was the brake pads activating. So now it says done. It does tell you that the LED in the parking brake switch and the warning lamp and instrument panel cluster might continue to blink. I didn't have that none of that problem. I'm looking at it right now. I have no malfunction on my screen, and my parking brake button is not flashing red. But you can cycle it on and off. You could also come down here to change value and test. I didn't have to do any of that, but what I will do right now, just kind of as a test, is push the parking brake on or pull it on. I could hear it. I don't think you guys will be able to hear that, but it's on. I'm going to push my brake pedal in with my hand and turn off the parking brake, and I heard it release. So we are good to go. Our electronic parking brake is back and functioning. Okay guys, so what I'm gonna do now is go back to home. I'm gonna click on the button disconnect. Are you sure you want to disconnect? Yes, disconnect. Okay, so that's it from an app standpoint. Okay, from here it's pretty simple. Just pull it out and you're done. It's already been disconnected. So I'll set that aside and put that away later. And at this point, you can go ahead and disconnect your battery tender. Set that aside and then make sure you remember to do that and close that. So before we had all that wiggle, now that's all gone because the electronic parking brake has been activated, the pistons applied, and all that wiggle's done. So the same thing applies on the driver's side rear, once again, except for the brake pad sensor cable. You do not have to worry about that on the driver's side. Why they have them catty corner like that, I'm not sure, but it is what it is. All right guys, you can tell I'm a little dirty after doing this brake job, but it's easy, it's relatively quick. Took me a long time the first time, just learning the nuances, especially with that hard brake line up in the front that I was really careful about, did not want to have any problems, so I took my time with that. Back here, learning how to compress that piston, tried multiple different ways, so that was kind of a pain in the butt. Hopefully you're able to understand and see what I was doing there. It's just one of those feel things. If you guys have changed brakes in the past, you'll be able to work your way through it based on what I explained and get it done. That OBD11, definitely a necessity, or some other way to disengage this electronic parking brake. You have to have that for this. At this point, once all of your brake pads are done, the one thing you're going to want to do is go into your car when you turn it on for the first time and pump the brakes a good 5-10 times, doesn't really matter. The first couple times you do them, you'll feel them compress all the way down to the ground, let it come back up, and then keep doing that, and then all of a sudden you feel it compress and be nice and firm, and you're good to go. You should be fine with no problems. And I just do that while the car is still sitting before I get out on the road or do anything. Just pump those brakes while the car is running. Other than that, you should be able to put your tires back on, torque them back down to 90 foot-pounds of torque. Once again, I'm going to refer you back to that video I did at the very beginning where I talk about jacking up the car and taking the tires off, because I also talk about putting the tires back on. So go ahead and look at that video if you need any refreshers on tires, putting your tires back on and torquing them down. I think that covers it for everything with our car and the nuances. Like I said, the other sides are a lot easier because you don't have the wires, even though the wire's not really that big of a deal. If you guys have any questions, comments, if you do something different, you know, this is a community that we all like to learn and grow from. So please put those down below, and hopefully this helps you guys out there and takes away kind of that fear and unknown of doing this stuff ourselves and not paying Audi a ridiculous amount of money. No offense, Audi, love you, but you guys are crazy expensive. This should hopefully open up also the doors if you guys want to place new rotors. I will be doing that in the future, hopefully actually relatively soon. So I will take you through that video of how to change out your rotors. But for now, pads are something that we go through more often than rotors. So great video for you guys. Thanks again. Once again, like, comment, thumbs up, all the good stuff, share. Thanks guys, have a good one.